Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the Thursday, February 26th, um, San Diego City County Reinvestment Task Force meeting. It is currently 2:02 p.m., and I will call the meeting to order. Marcel, please call the roll. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Well, good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Could we start on this side with Irene and have everyone announce your name and your organization, please?
Irene Guayo with ILC.
Gordon Borner, Accessity. Adolfo Ventura with MAC.
Coffee Reed, San Diego Habitat.
Antonio Barbosa, Wells Fargo.
Marcel Gresham, San Diego Housing Commission, RTF.
Monica Montgomery Step, co-chair.
Henry Foster, co-chair.
Stephen Russell, San Diego Housing Federation.
Peter Armstrong, Wakeland Housing.
Sergio Carroll, Citibank.
Enrique Mesa, U.S. Bank.
Vanessa Rojas with
Okay, good. At some point, we're going to get some mics so everyone online can hear you. Okay, let's move on to non-agenda public comment, opportunity for the public to comment on items that are not on the agenda. Do we have anyone that has requested to speak on this item? No? Okay, all right. Let's move forward then. We have task force member comments. Floor is now open to any members of the task force who want to share any updates or reports. Yes, Steve, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to let folks know that our annual Ruby Awards, which recognize the best people, programs, and people and projects in San Diego in affordable housing, the nominations for those Ruby Awards are currently open at our website at housingsandiego.org. It's a great event. It'll be June 4th in Mission Bay, but we really look forward to this opportunity to uplift the work of folks who are doing really, really good work in this region.
Thank you. It's definitely a fun time. Anyone else? Yes, Peter.
I just want to say that Wakeland had the great pleasure of having a grand opening yesterday for a 85-unit home project in the unincorporated county. It's between San Marcos and Vista. So the County of San Diego was a big sponsor of the project. Wells Fargo was the construction lender and tax credit investor. And it was a really great event. We had a lot of great representation, including, the appointed HUD administrator from Los Angeles. So it was a great event, and more importantly, we were really proud to open 85 new units for seniors, 42 of which had been previously unhoused.
Amazing. Thank you. Any other updates? Okay. All right. If there's nothing further, let's go on to the approval of the minutes. And so I will go ahead and entertain a motion at this time for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion from Co-Chair Foster and a second, Mr. Ventura. Okay, any further discussion, any changes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, passes unanimously. Now, let's move on to the staff report, and Marcel, you can take it from here.
Thank you, Co-Chair. So this meeting, the meeting schedule that we have set for calendar year 2026, that's all been set, and everyone should have received all of your appointments for this upcoming year. I definitely want to thank the city and the county's scheduling staff for helping me through this process, and also for our staff here at the Housing Commission to help make sure that we had the logistics and the coordination for our conference room available for our meetings throughout this year. Secondly, Jared Hernandez, he's no longer with CSA, San Diego County. Stella De La Rios, she's actually the new executive director and representative for CSA. We do have Vanessa here that will be presenting on their behalf today, but moving forward, Stella will be the person for CSA, the representative for CSA. And then also, Gordon Berner, he has been acting as our alternate for a representative for Accessity for a little while with the absence of his staff. But now there has been a new RTF representative who is being determined. Jolena, familiar with? She's right there on the end. She has actually been identified as the new alternate following today's meeting. And again, should she be approved by the co-chair in terms of her role, then she will be the full-time representative for Accessity moving forward. And we thank Gordon for him stepping in and filling in for their organization at these last couple of meetings. And then also lastly I have is that the RTF website is in need of updating. I don't know when the last time you all were on it, but it definitely needs a little bit of refreshing. I am working with the contractor to provide a new quote for the update of that site, and so I'll keep you all posted as that action moves forward, but that's actually in process as we speak. That concludes my report, my staff report this morning. Thank you very much. I keep saying this morning, that's where my mind is. But thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the report. And I'm just assuming we have no members of the public that want to speak on this item. Checking to make sure. Nope. Okay. And so any task force members have any follow-up questions, comments? All right. Okay, let's move forward to our first informational item, the San Diego Housing Commission First-Time Homebuyers Program, item number 6. Sujata, thank you so much for being here to present for us again. You will be providing us with a presentation about the agency's programs, so please proceed.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon, Co-Chair. Nice to see you. Same with Co-Chair Foster, and I think I know pretty much all of you. But for those who don't know me, I'm Sujata Raman, Vice President, Single Family Housing Finance at the San Diego Housing Commission. So some background about our first-time homebuyer programs. We have been administering a first-time homebuyer program in the city of San Diego for 40 years or so. We've been able to help more than 6,100 families purchase a home through our various first-time homebuyer programs. And we've provided approximately $200 million in assistance and counting. The $200 million includes various forms of loans, grants, and then mortgage credit certificates, which many of you may know or not know have not been funded in the last 5 years. But there was a good period of time that we were doing a lot of MCCs. They're really valuable in helping buyers purchase a home. We are a little unique. So the San Diego Housing Commission pretty much has programs for the city of San Diego, like our Section 8 rental assistance, homelessness, and all those programs. My department, not only do we administer the first-time homebuyer program in the city of San Diego, but also the county and all our neighboring cities. So that's a little bit unique. So the county actually came to us about 12 years ago and said, you have dedicated underwriting staff. Can you administer our first-time homebuyer programs for us? And so we've been doing that very successfully for about 12, 13 years. A couple of years, 5 years ago or so, City of Chula Vista and El Cajon also came to us and said, can you also do down payment assistance programs for us? So we are the regional first-time homebuyer program administrator for the city of San Diego, the entire county, which includes all the unincorporated areas and all the neighboring cities. Just 3 cities, Escondido, Oceanside, and National City, don't have any first-time homebuyer programs right now. So National City is a big one. If anyone has influence, there are buyers always asking us why they don't have a program there. Within the city, at a high level, I'm just going to go over the various programs we have. So we happen to have first-time homebuyer programs for people at every income level and also depending on where they want to buy, whether it's city of San Diego or county or Chula Vista or so on. With the city of San Diego, we have a low-income program that serves 80% and below area median income clients. We also, thanks to Wells Fargo, were able to implement and launch about 3 years ago a middle-income program, a very much needed middle-income program that helps buyers between 80% and 150% AMI. The County of San Diego also has a low-income program, 80% to help 80% and below AMI home buyers, and they have a moderate income home program that they use local funds for, which actually, again, is very popular. That helps buyers in the 80% to 120% AMI range. And then we have City of Chula Vista and City of El Cajon with low-income programs. And all of this is, again, we're a one-stop shop. Everyone comes to us. The loan officers, the buyers can contact us for these programs. The City of San Diego Middle Income Program. So that's the program that was funded through the Wells Fargo grant. Here are some details on that program. We provide up to $50,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance, of which $40,000 is a loan that's used towards down payment, and then there's an outright grant, which is just forgiven. It's a $10,000 free money to be used towards closing costs. This middle income program does have an interest rate, a simple interest rate of 4%. It's a 15-year term. So for years 1 through 5, no payments are required. Starting in year 6, the buyers do start making payments back over the next 10 years. So pretty much the payments come back and they will be recirculated into helping newer home buyers. So it's like a revolving loan fund that we were able to establish that thanks to the generosity of Wells Fargo. So far, we've assisted, this slide's a little outdated, about 60 home buyers, and the Wells Fargo fund also helps fund a home ownership advisor, like a counselor, and he's been able to counsel about 600 clients over the last couple of years. Here's just a brief slide or description of which areas in the San Diego County we cover. I think I mentioned that. So it's all of unincorporated area of San Diego County, and the cities mentioned there, La Mesa, Lemon Grove, Santee, San Marcos, etc. And again, the only 3 areas not covered by a program administered by us are Escondido, National City, and Oceanside. Here, when we talk about area median income, this is a good slide to have an idea of what the income qualifications are. So, for example, a household of 4, if you look at the 80% AMI column and the 4 row, someone making below $132,400 as a household of 4 can qualify for any of our low-income programs. A household of 4 making up to $196,000 can qualify for our middle-income program. And these area median income limits, as most of you know, are set by HUD, and they change usually in the spring, so we're waiting to see what they might be in April or so. If there's any slide that's important, this is it. That's what I say in all my presentations. So this shows the power of, this slide is a mathematical example of the power of using down payment assistance programs to be able to buy a home. So if you look at all the information on the left-hand side under conventional financing, so this scenario is a household of 4 making up to the 80% max, which is $132,400. So the left side shows if somebody did not use our first-time homebuyer programs, did not use down payment assistance at a rate of 6.5%, and they would need to put maximum 5%. Conventional financing requires about 5% down payment. They would have to bring $33,000 as their contribution, and their debt-to-income ratio would be 49%. 50% is what most banks, most lenders allow, depending on credit and other situations. But they would be able to buy a house that's worth, at the max, $660,000. And this is assuming they have other monthly debts of about $300. So mortgage debt plus about $300. All that's on the left. Now, the impact of the sales price. So what happens when someone uses a down payment assistance? So our low-income program, the city's low-income program, provides assistance of a $125,000 loan. It's a deferred loan. No payments are required for 30 years. So that's the thing you see in green on the right side. And the same customer who makes about $132,000 with the same, everything being the same, can now afford to buy a home that's worth about $800,000. So it increases, the buyer's purchasing power increases by approximately $140,000 because they were able to use a down payment assistance loan, which is a second mortgage with no payments. So yeah, a lot of people are curious about, is someone really buying at $800,000? I have applications as of like 2 or 3 weeks ago. People are buying in the low 700s still. They're able to with this income criteria. How does one apply to the Housing Commission first-time homebuyer programs? So we have a very robust partnership with hundreds of loan officers and lenders in the community. So we have about 400 loan officers belonging to various banks. Many of them are here, credit unions, mortgage brokers, lenders, who we train. We have a training every quarter for loan officers. We train them on our underwriting requirements and eligibility criteria. And these loan officers are the first point of contact for any buyer interested in buying. So they would contact they pick any loan officer. The loan officer collects their income documents, pulls credit report, checks their bank account statements, and so on. And if they're qualified, then yes, the buyer then engages a real estate agent and then gets into contract, at which point the application and supporting documents are sent to the Housing Commission for our approval. I mentioned briefly a homeownership advisor. So yes, again, thanks to Wells Fargo, we've had a homeownership advisor on staff. We get he or she, there's 2 of them actually, get a lot of inquiries throughout the day, throughout the week, on people in basically figuring out, how do I become a first-time home buyer? How do I become a home buyer? How do I buy a house? So the homeownership advisor spends considerable time doing an assessment of their financial preparedness, and then guiding them, basically. There are some who might need to be then referred to a counseling agency when they have to work on getting their credit score up, or if they have debt, if they need debt management guidance. And sometimes we're finding borrowers or buyers are ready. They have saved. Our low-income program only needs 1% down payment. So some buyers have that 1% down payment saved, have a great credit score, in which case we refer them directly to the lender, and then a few months later, depending on how many houses are on sale and the inventory, they're able to purchase and use one of our programs. So this homeownership advisor has been a very valuable resource we've been able to offer anyone calling us. I rushed through this. Marcel told me I had like 9 minutes, 8 minutes. But again, here's some information on, contact information, mine and the team, and I'm open for any questions and comments.
Thank you so much for the presentation, for getting through it. There's a lot of information, so thank you. Just checking on public comment. Nope. All righty. So we will go to our task force members to see if anyone has any questions or comments. Anything? Sergio, go ahead. Sergio and then Peter.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. You mentioned the homeownership advisors speaking to households when they have challenges around credit and debt management. Can you maybe expand a bit more on some of those challenges? Perhaps, are there any other challenges? I know the low-income program, you said it was 1% from the borrowers, but
Yeah.
Can you just maybe give us just a quick overview as to what those challenges?
Most of the challenges doesn't seem to be credit score these days. I think all the bankers know that everyone's credit scores nationally have increased. For some reason, people who contact us are not struggling with bad credit, so much so that, saving money for down payment or income is too low to buy a home is insufficient, so which means their debt to income ratio is too high because, as everyone knows, homes have become so unaffordable in San Diego the last 3 or 4 years. It's doubled, right? So that's the biggest challenge we see, debt to income ratio, in which case we guide them into, is there a second job perhaps you can work to get additional income? Is there another household member, that maybe a parent that lives with you whose social security income can be added, and maybe they should be a co-borrower, and things like that. And then for more detail, like a debt consolidation plan, we refer them to a partner counseling agency where a HUD certified counselors actually working with them and giving them an action plan.
I was just curious, at any given time, how many potential home buyers are you working with?
The team's been extremely busy, and now it's the start of the home buying season. So at any given time, we probably, and I have a very small team, like just two and a half underwriters. They're juggling many roles and hats. At any given time, we probably have 35 applications in process. Are all of them approvable? No. Sometimes the lenders are submitting applications that end up declined. Sometimes borrowers are withdrawing because the condo doesn't meet Fannie guidelines. There's reasons for cancellations and declines, but at any given time, we're working through many, many applications.
We go to Marcel and then Coffee.
Okay, thank you. And to assist Sujata's team with those outreach efforts, kind of to Peter's point, is we're also working on contracts with Logan Heights CDC for outreach services, and also with MAC for outreach services, because we understand that that's kind of going to be the pipeline. You need folks to come in and provide applications. So we are working on contracts with both of those organizations to provide those additional services for them.
I want to add one thing. Most of the buyers we're assisting are districts 4, 8, and 9. Majority of our buyers.
You have city council districts, San Diego City Council District?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. And then what about before I go to Coffee, sorry, since you said that, what about for the other cities? Is there just, even in compared to the other cities, those are the districts that are serving the most?
Yes, the city of San Diego is more dense. County is so spread out, right? So the city sees a lot more funding activity and a lot more loans than the county. In the county, we see Lemon Grove, Santee, and then like Alpine, Fallbrook.
Yeah.
People are buying there because I actually even saw a $250,000 condo in Fallbrook.
Oh, wow.
It's shocking, surprising, but if someone's working remotely, they're going and buying there now because everything else here is so expensive.
Coffee, please.
Thanks for the presentation. This is something I feel pretty passionately about, as you can imagine, right,
Correct.
from where I sit. The first question I have is, are there continuing affordability covenants that are attached to any of these programs?
There are restrictions, not really an affordability covenant in the terms that you and I know about for the Affordable for Sale program. Yes, these properties will have CCNRs, mainly to ensure certain things like owner occupancy. As long as our loan is outstanding, the borrowers must owner occupy the home. If they want to sell, they want to rent it out, our loan needs to be paid back. Things like that. So there are restrictions until the loan's paid off.
But for the low-income housing program, the buyer has to be at 80% or below?
The Affordable for Sale program, we call this the first-time homebuyer down payment assistance program.
The one with the example of the 125.
Yes. So that on the top, the header, it'll say low-income program with 19. So that is 80% or below, correct.
And does that have to stay affordable for a period of time after, or?
The property itself, no.
No. Okay.
No.
And then the other question I guess I have is the 49 or 46% of the monthly, 46% of income for the monthly housing payment, is that typical?
Yeah, it's everyone's now at between 45 and 50. People, the only way you can afford is by having a monthly payment that's 50% of your gross income. some of you may know, it sounds unimaginable. How does somebody afford to live with their 50% of their income going towards their monthly mortgage? They don't pay taxes. When they go file tax returns, there's something called earned income credit. So their gross and net turns out to be almost the same. So there is money remaining for all the other expenses. It's a little complicated, but yeah, people are buying. They're at 50% debt to income ratio. And lenders, all the bankers can attest that you are going up to 50% or more on FHA sometimes when you're lending, right?
Yeah, well, there are some exceptions to that, but yes.
50 is standard.
She's talking about income taxes. Yeah. She's talking about income taxes.
Question, and again, yeah, thank you as well for the presentation. The question has to do with the 3 cities you referenced at.
Yes.
Is it based off of capacity that they don't have in each city, or what's the resistance, or?
I know, great question. I've been working with National City for many years. I forget the name of the previous executive director. They have money, they don't have resources to do a program, I guess, which is why they contact us every now and then and say, oh, we'll issue an RFP, can you apply? Of course we would apply. So our capacity on our side is not the issue. For some reason, they are not investing money in home ownership programs. But if they do and they don't have the resources, they can come to us just like everybody else. So it's interesting why and buyers, especially in National City and Escondido, are desperate to buy there, but there's no first-time home buyer program, no assistance there. So, yeah. Supervisor might be able to change that.
No pressure. Yes.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. So for those areas, so Liz does have a program, down payment assistance program. We work with San Diego Foundation and Urban League of San Diego County, so we do serve those areas. So in case.
True.
Yeah.
They have a 40,000 grant. We can send, yes.
Yeah,
The only slight issue there is the lenders are restricted to your 3 or 4, and we have like 80 lenders. They are the ones who come asking us, like, what can I do? My client wants to buy National City. Why is there no program?
Interesting. Yeah. Adolfo.
I'll be brief. One, thanks for the presentation. And as Marcel mentioned, as a partner in this, I think programs like this are fantastic. But I think what make it a lot more effective is when we actually are out there ensuring that the right information is communicated properly, timely, and intentionally to the type of participants that we're trying to bring in, qualified ones. And I think that's why MAC didn't hesitate in partnering with this. I think this is where we see our bread and butter, being able to really reach those potential homeowners that could qualify and benefit quickly on something like this, especially when we see the markets changing so quickly throughout. So on that, I mean, we've been in a lot of communication and we're excited to move forward with this, and we can't wait to see some great outcomes out of this. We've been waiting for it for a while.
What's the timeline on the outreach contracts?
When we're just working with MAC to get some additional information on their outline in terms of attaching it to the scope of work. Then once we do that, we'll be working with our procurement department to move that agreement forward. So that may still take a couple of weeks before we get that done. But the agreement with Logan Heights CDC, that's actually with our under legal review right now. And that should also be being wrapped up here very soon.
Okay, good. Any other questions, comments? Yes, Co-Chair Foster.
Yes, and thank you for the presentation and the information. I think this is something that we've been working on for quite some time. And I guess as you're doing the work that you're doing, LISC is doing the work, I guess, how are we connecting all the dots to where we are maximizing, I guess, what our intent is, and that is to get first-time home buyers into houses. So how is the system or the different agencies or entities working together to maximize those outputs or impact? Is it a networking deal? Is there a way that you guys communicate, cross-do things? How does that work? If it doesn't, then...
No, great question. So we have buyer, is US Bank here? I forget. Who's you? Who? Enrique, sorry, yes. I know Danielle and others. So, yeah, so you're right, it might be a little disjointed. As I said, the Housing Commission has been doing this for some 40 years. Anybody can participate in our programs. Loan officers lenders have to sign an agreement with us. They can have 10 loan officers that go out in the community, promote, have clients, market, bring them to us. And then List came on board 4 or 5 years ago when they started with their 40,000 grant. We don't have an issue. The more money a customer can get to be able to buy, fantastic, right? And in this day and age, everybody needs multiple sources of layering, so to speak. So there's a first mortgage provided by lenders. There's a second mortgage provided by us. The Venn diagram of who can participate in both programs, sadly, is only U.S. Bank. So we have U.S. Bank loan officers who come to us. They provide the first mortgage. We provide the down payment assistance, and they also go to LISC and avail the 40,000 grant for their customers. I don't know how to change that.
So LISC is a little different than Housing Commission. So we actually require, if you want to participate in our program, they have to match at least 9,000 grant. So for our program, the bank will contribute at least like 9,000, and then on top of our 40,000, so they can get at least 50,000. And then we don't have any restriction, so they can also pair with the Housing Commission one. So you can get almost like close to 100,000 on each transaction.
And I take it back. Sorry, it's U.S. Bank and BMO that are on both. I'm still working with First Citizens. That's my former bank. I used to work there, so I've been hounding them, saying you need to sign up lender agreements with me. The more banks, the more, and then of course, as you know, I present a lot in the community as well. The more outreach we ourselves do, and we are pretty diligent about that, and spread the word that there's down payment assistance programs available. The one issue slightly is that the low-income program's out of funding. So that, again, the demand is so much more than the supply.
Okay. And I guess also in regards to just actual performance, and as I look at the list of programs, is there a dashboard or something that we can see where we're actually seeing the placements move and understanding how this program is working? Do you have a dashboard?
We don't have a public-facing dashboard, but we have data readily available. I can check with our IT department if they have resources to put it up publicly. But we get a lot of data requests, and my team, my department, we have data that we maintain that we can readily provide.
Okay. And then just lastly, and this is just me, as me, I'm gonna take off my council member hat and sitting here. A $5,000 a month mortgage just would scare me, right? That is a very, very hefty, to know that is due every month. That's a serious amount of anxiety and stress that one can carry. And just as I look at this, and I'm looking at the interest rate, say the middle income for the down payment, it's at 4%. Is there opportunities to work that or look at that and to bring that down from 4% to say 1% or 2%? Is that something that we can
look into it? Yes.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. I think just in as we are trying to achieve what we're trying to achieve, I just think we should kind of look at it, because I think, what are interest rates at now? Are they still in the 6%?
Right.
6%? Is that what it is? Low 6? Okay.
Yeah, we can look into it.
Get all that down to like 3. But I won't hold you to that.
Yeah, and then we also have the insurance issue. So a lot of the insurance has been double and triple. So that's causing the insurance to go up and the HOA fees to go up.
Yeah, and rent is high, so the comparison, I think really comes down to the comparison, because rent there's still instability there, and it's still very high. So there's just between a rock and a hard place our folks are in right now. So, but it would be good, any relief, I agree, any relief that we can show on our end is, a quasi-public program, right? That we should look into that. So that would be good. And I was going to say, comment on your presentations in the community, which I have been a part and seen, and I've seen tough questions being thrown at you, and you take them, and people are very, very pleased with the presentation and the information you're able to give them. So thank you for that. So I'm sure you all know if you have any groups that would benefit from this information. And Sujata is very open to that. So thank you very much for doing that for our community members. If there are no more questions or comments, we're going to move to the next item. And thank you again. And we're going to call Walt Bishop and Matthew Parr up. Walt is the City of San Diego's Economic Development and part of the City of San Diego's Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs team. And then Matthew is part of the county's team. And so I know they both have very fancy titles that they will tell you themselves. But it's good to see you both. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair, Co-Chair Foster, Co-Chair Montgomery Stepp, and good to see you again, Supervisor. Thanks for the opportunity to share the updates that were adopted late last year to the city's 2025-2026 legislative platform. This is an extensive document, just a short 37 pages, that outlines what our city can advocate for in the year ahead in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. Given the extensiveness of the platform, I'm going to update you on some of the housing and community development related updates we added this year. But again, happy to answer any questions on any of the other provisions included. So just a quick review on what the purpose of our platform is. The city's legislative platform provides our government affairs department guardrails for what we can and cannot take formal positions on throughout the legislative session. It outlines our core advocacy priorities at the state and federal levels and gives us the ability to respond agilely to fast-moving developments at the state and federal levels. As we head into year 2 of our state and federal legislative sessions, it's another opportunity to reimagine our priorities in Sacramento and Washington. Our guiding principles for this year remained unchanged. They're promoting social justice, equity, and inclusive economic development, preserving local control, and supporting fiscal stability and funding opportunities. And then I want to highlight some high-level updates we made to this year's platform regarding state items, as was just mentioned regarding the insurance issue, focusing on home hardening, so supporting legislation and funding to address the ongoing insurance affordability crisis and support efforts to mitigate risk for homeowners. The statewide housing bond that's being discussed, supporting the 2026 statewide housing bond, Assemblymember Wicks and Senator Cabaldon both have corresponding measures supporting that effort. Supporting policies that make it viable to build condos again in California. We're currently supporting AB 1406 from Assemblymember Ward that focuses on that, and then also looking at Assemblymember Wicks has a condo defect package that she is currently in spot bill form, but we're looking to be supportive of as well. And then low-income housing tax credits, so supporting the California tax credit allocation committees to incentivize projects in high-resourced areas for the allocation of tax credits. But we are watching closely the conversations around the state budget, particularly around HAP Round 7. There was no HAP funding last year. It was cut down to $500 million in the legislature's agreement last year and in the governor's budget. So through the California Big City Mayors, we're pushing to make sure that level of funding is at $1 billion to ensure there's no service level impacts. And then obviously focusing on some of the state affordable housing programs. I mentioned low-income housing tax credit, but such as ASIC, IIG, et cetera. And then another state area of focus, we've been supporting legislation and funding opportunities to assist the city's delegated maintenance agreement with Caltrans that went into effect last year and has shown some really positive results in cleaning encampments on state right-of-way and getting those individuals into shelter and onto permanent housing. And now on to federal updates. There's been nothing going on at the federal level, absolutely nothing. But in adapting to the first year of the Trump administration, on Department of Housing and Urban Development opposing efforts to gut HUD staffing and funding reductions, it seems like every week we're responding to a new rule, the mixed-use status rule that came out late last week, some rollbacks that were announced this morning. We're supporting the Road to Housing Act on the Senate side, and then the Housing for 21st Century Act on the House side, as well as the Cut Red Tape for Housing Act from Congresswoman Friedman up in Los Angeles. On the Continuum of Care program, opposing harmful changes to any COC funding, as we saw late last year, and then opposing further efforts to restrict nutrition programs. Obviously, the one big, beautiful bill that was passed, H.R. 1, took a hatchet to a lot of our nutrition programs. I just want to spend 1 minute on the Road to Housing bill on the Senate side, because this bill is moving and will be voted on next week in the Senate. So for this group's awareness, this is supported by the city. A lot of positive things in this bill, but want to flag for the task force that it allows HUD to prioritize program applicants that are based in or primarily serve communities designated as opportunity zones for any competitive grants related to housing development or preservation. It raises the cap on bank public welfare investments such as affordable housing and community development from its current 15% level to 20%, streamlines NEPA environmental reviews for housing, and then provides a new innovation fund for jurisdictions who are making innovative improvements to their permitting and land use development codes. In closing, we obviously made additional changes throughout the document, especially when it comes to pushing back on the administration's immigration enforcement actions, but just wanted to focus today on the housing and community development efforts. So with that, happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for having us, by the way. It's a great opportunity to share a little bit about what the city and county are working on, and I really appreciate being here with Walt. Walt and I, we meet regularly, we talk regularly to make sure we're comparing notes and we're aligned on our efforts in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. I will share right away that our Board of Supervisors, obviously Supervisor Montgomery Stepp, a member of the board, approved our county's legislative program last year in December. One thing I want to touch on that we're proud about at the county and in our office is the level of community engagement that we do with the community before we bring our legislative program to the Board of Supervisors. We spend many months working with our county boards and commissions, with our county departments. We're out in the community. We're on social media. We're getting to as many people as we possibly can to say, tell us what you believe the county should be advocating on in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. And it's hard to make that link in plain language of, okay, what does that mean? But we really want to hear from members of the public, what do you think we should be advocating on? So I really want to highlight that's something we're proud of at the County of San Diego. Included in our 2026 legislative program, some of our big priority issues, Walt touched on some of them, we share many of them. Advancing housing solutions, very important to obviously this body here, but to our respective jurisdictions and to the public that we serve. We also have support positions on the federal housing legislation that's making its way through Congress right now. Walt did a great job describing kind of the two pieces of the legislation, the one passed the House and one passed the Senate. Instead of taking a specific support position on the bills, we just generally support federal housing actions because we don't know where these bills are going to ultimately land or what language will ultimately be included. Obviously, we see that back and forth between the House and the Senate right now. Not sure exactly where they're going to land, but authorizing CDBG-DR is something that's very important to us, especially following the January 22nd floods is very important. Expanding the home and investment program is obviously very important to us too, so we're very focused on that on the federal level. Bolstering our behavioral health care system is something we're definitely focused on as well as a priority for us. Combating climate change, ensuring safe communities, reducing homelessness, safeguarding the social safety net. I'll say we've spent a lot of our time this year working on the impacts of H.R. 1. Especially at the county level, and I know Supervisor Montgomery Stepp could probably even speak more eloquently and more specifically about some of the impacts that we'll see on H.R. 1. But we've spent many months talking to our state representatives to make sure that they know what the county will be facing when it comes to H.R. 1. And then on the federal side, seeing if there's any type of flexibility most likely not, but see if there's any type of flexibility to either have delays or to roll some of these things back. So we spend a lot of our time working with members at both the state and federal level to make sure that social safety net is preserved. And then I'll also mention the Tijuana River Valley pollution crisis is something we spend a lot of our time and advocacy effort on as well. We're supporting multiple state bills. AB 35 is one that we're sponsoring right now to basically waive the regulation specifically for the Proposition 4 TGRV river funding to get that Tijuana River Valley funding out the door as quick as possible. And then Senate Bill 58, which would look at the hydrogen sulfide levels, basically reevaluating hydrogen sulfide levels. And I think Walt would agree with me on this, we are always looking for money. And so we are constantly talking to members, whether it's the state budget, the federal budget, we are looking for ways to unlock funding, whether it's for Tijuana River Valley, Proposition 36. I'm glad that Walt mentioned HAP as well. That's something we're very focused on at the county level as well. The critical programs and services that HAP provides, and to see that funding kind of glide scoping down is certainly concerning. We'd like to see permanent ongoing funding, whether it's for HAP or just homelessness support would be very critical for us, and also our IHSS programs. We are the social safety net program for the region, and there are a number of proposed cuts in the state budget to IHSS. That's something that will be very impactful to our residents. I think that pretty much wraps up our legislative update, subject to any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for being here with us this afternoon. Just want to make sure there's no public comment. Okay. Task Force, questions, comments? Steve?
Thank you. First of all, a question for you. Did they make opportunity zones permanent?
Yeah, so in the One Big Beautiful Bill, they're expanding on them. So their process is going right now with the states in regards to designating new opportunity zones that will go into effect January of 2027. So we're working with, just speaking for the city right now, our economic development department's working with the state to see if there are areas to designate some additional opportunity zones within the city of San Diego. So that process is ongoing.
There you go. I don't know what happened. With that, let's have a conversation when we get back, because I just want to make sure District 4, it gets a little interesting on how they drew the lines. And there's portions of my district that it's literally across the street that was left out. And so if we can kind of touch on that as we're working through that, I think there's some areas we can, if there's an opportunity to get them into the opportunity zone, I think it would be a good thing. And one of those is specifically the Black Arts and Culture District. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And a couple of the comments, though. I think we had a really interesting discussion with Assemblymember Ward just about a week ago, where my board or representatives of my board came together. And interestingly, a significant amount of the conversation was around condo production. And you wouldn't think that from light tech housing developers that would be the number one concern. But we know that, and Adolfo can speak to tenancy, long-term tenure, keeping people above income in housing when they should have opportunities. We also know that there is the need for condos. We need 125,000 homes in San Diego to balance out the market if we were to bring it to parity now. And if we were to build those as single-family homes, that would require 5 Mira Mesas. And we know we don't have the land to do that. So the writing is on the wall. We have to be building multifamily. And so I just want to underscore the importance of condos as ways of helping families move up and out of existing affordable housing. That creates new affordable housing units that are, I won't say free, but essentially created by vacancy. And then the fact that realtors, there was an article just last week about realtors where a significant percentage of licensed realtors in San Diego County had sold nothing in 2 years, because they're essentially trading on the same amount of for sale stock. And so there's a number of ways in which this is very important. Chris Ward is introducing a bill that has to do with builders' retention, going toward building, actually the deposits going toward construction. But Ms. Buffy Wicks's bill could, I just think we need to seize the moment and start to create a path toward creating more condominiums because it is across the board, is affecting more people in more ways than I think we even imagine.
Yeah, and I'll just say, the previous conversation on first-time home ownership, like point of personal privilege, my wife and I just bought our first home last year. It was a condo, built in 1979. To show you in regards to condo housing stock being incredibly aged. And one fact I think that really hits home on the condo issue here in California, the city of Miami built more condos in 1 year than the entire state of California. Not saying we use Florida as an example for everything, but I think that just goes to show that from a development perspective, that puts this, it's a great first-time home buyer opportunity.
Yes, coffee.
I want to thank you for the presentation and your representation of the city and county. I think it's right on. I have two questions. One of them gets a little bit into the weeds about the condos. My sense, and I'd love you to disabuse me of it, is that part of the reason why the condo conversions, or rather why the condo construction has been stalled, has been the ongoing issue with builder's warranty risk. I know at Habitat, when we think about multifamily, that's been a huge issue for us. And so I'm wondering, is that on the city and county's kind of like radar just to dig into a specific issue? And I don't know if the city or county has a perspective on it, or if there's something else on the other side of the issue that I don't understand, or just kind of wondering where that sits.
Yeah, I think as Steve Russell was saying, I think some of this goes to Assemblymember Ward's bill, which we're supporting, and then also going to Assemblymember Wick's bill on liability. If you couple those two things together, I think you can see a real difference in where we can go in this state from a condo perspective. So, Ben, I don't know if you have.
Yeah, and I'll just, generally, we're looking for legislation that advances any kind of housing solution. So whether that's, condos, whether that's, medium income, whether that's whatever range. And actually we're trying to work on a piece of legislation now to kind of look at how you define housing as well, because I think all innovation and needs to be on the table. So not specifically at that piece, but just looking for housing solutions in general. If there's an opportunity, we're going to be at the table trying to have a conversation.
Okay, I've got one more question, and this is basically my policy director in the back of my head. She'd kill me if I did not ask this. Is the city and county supporting the CalHome program? And the reason I ask about CalHome is it's the only funding source for the production of affordable homeownership housing, and it hits that Venn diagram of looking for more money from the state, a housing solution that advances the affordable homeownership conversation we've been having. I'm wondering, is that on your radar?
Yeah, I know it is on our economic development department at the city. It's funny, we actually had Secretary Moss in yesterday, and one of the things talking about the opportunity of some of our small-scale neighborhood home initiative that we have cooking up here at the city, and the opportunities through Cal FHA to help with some of those efforts. So it's definitely on our radar screen. I think we can do more with it, but to answer your question, yeah, it's on our radar.
Yeah, and I would agree too. I mean, anything, the county has a housing blueprint passed by our Board of Supervisors. Anything that aligns with our housing blueprint to advance housing solutions, we're there.
Thank you.
Gordon, yeah.
Thank you. Wonderful presentation. And thank you for mentioning any housing solutions, because the word any becomes a really important one, because I'll tag on to Steve's comment. For 3 or 4 of us actually were at the EDC yesterday, and so I'm going to take my accessity hat off for a second and put my LISC hat on, Jimmy, so and kind of play Ricardo's world and Gary London's world. At LISC, and I'm doing this as much as anything to make sure we put this on the minutes, the difference in kind of reframing the word density, that it doesn't have to mean condos. Condos are wonderful. We want more of them. But the whole gentle density concept of taking that basketball court picture, and if you haven't seen it, we might want to consider inviting Liz to come make that presentation here at the Reinvestment Task Force. I would think you might agree with that as well, Coffee, Sergio, and those of us. A very enlightening one that fits into the Any Solutions realm and allows for that affordability index to not necessarily have an HOA fee burden, and there's a whole lot of legislative things that can actually be beneficial. So just putting that gentle density concept on there, I think is good for your Any definition, and I think would be good for the Reinvestment Task Force as well. And then, if I might,
Yep.
my second question, now I'm going to put my accessity hat back on. I didn't hear you mention anything about CDFIs, and I understood that today was the magic day, supposedly, of the bipartisan Senate committee with the 7 Republicans and the 11 Democrats going back to the Treasury Secretary to try to reinstitute the CDFI fund. Any word on that from this morning out of D.C.?
I haven't heard it. I just came back from DC yesterday. I have not heard anything, so let me
So
get
we'll
back
check
to
the press clippings tonight. Yeah, thank you. Thank you again for the presentation. That was wonderful.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you for the presentation. I think just the platforms are important for this reason. I know we've had a lot of discussion in this body, but as you can see, they keep us updated, and it makes for a very robust discussion. I had put a kind of a working group together around housing at the county and the builder's warranty risk that came up in that context. So we're trying to work with Luge also to see, what solutions we could put forward based on that. And of course, our advocacy at the state and federal level are super important. There was one more thing that I was going to say, but because I'm getting older by the day, it left me, but I know where you two work, especially you, Matt. So I'll be able to get in touch with you with any additional concerns and questions. And we do have a presentation next that we want to save an hour for. So thank you again for stopping by, and we'll invite you back. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. Let's go on to item number 8. This is the annual RTF Community Reinvestment Report and CRA activities. So we have quite a few presenters for this item. I'm going to name you all in the order that I would like for you to present. And then I'll probably call you because you may or may not remember, even if I put number 1, Marcel Grisham. And so you will start, Marcel, and then Antonio Barbosa will be second, and then Irene. Irene, say your last name for me. Boayo. Boayo will be third. Peter Armstrong, you will be fourth. Vanessa Rojas, you will be fifth. Gordon Borner, you will be sixth. Stephen Russell, seventh, and Kwafi Reed, eighth. Okay, let's see if we can do this in an hour.
All right, we have an hour, so I'll make sure I respect everybody's timeline since I helped set the schedule on this to make sure everybody had an opportunity to present and share their updates on their respective organizations and what everyone is doing. And I appreciate the time that everyone has taken to put these presentations together today. I understand that some of us were unable to do that, and that's okay. I think we have a lot of information to be able to share today, nonetheless. So today my presentation, and thank you both co-chairs and RTF members, my presentation today is on the 2024 Community Investment Report. This update is going to highlight some of the information that was submitted to us by our banking members through a survey that each of them completed respectively. And so I was able to take some of that information and then put it into our presentation today. And I'll cover some of those highlights for everyone. And as everyone is aware, this is an annual survey that each of our banking members complete to meet their CRA requirements or their Community Reinvestment Act requirements. And so we'll get started from here. So this first slide basically is a highlight of the scores and the ratings that each of our banking members have within the state of California. When they submit their submit their surveys, they do have information in terms of their ratings nationally, but I thought it was very important to highlight what they are doing here within the state of California for each of their respective organizations. So the Community Reinvestment Act was enacted in Congress in 1977, and it's intended to encourage depository institutions to meet the credit needs of the communities in which they operate, including low and moderate income neighborhoods, consistent with safe and sound banking operations. And the CRA requires that each insured depository's institution's records in helping to meet the credit needs of its entire community be evaluated periodically. The record that is taken into account is considering an institution's application for deposit facilities, including mergers and acquisitions, CRA examinations. They are conducted by the federal agencies that are responsible for supervising depository institutions through the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC, and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. And so with regards to the outcomes of those surveys or those exams that they complete, they are rated respectively. And being that we have 5 large banks here, they are evaluated looking at their lending test, the investment test, and the service test. And as you can see, the majority of the ratings that each of our banks have received are either satisfactory or up to outstanding, which is great. And also you can see to your far right in those 2 columns when the most recent exam was completed, and then when the anticipated next exam is going to be released for their next update for their rating. This next slide is basically looking at a 10-year trend of the survey dollars by each respective bank. What I did was just do kind of an analysis from the year 2014 through the current year of 2024 of the exam. Previously, the information that you may have seen was from 2013 through 2023. One thing that you're going to see in each of these slides that I share with you is you're going to see some things that are consistent in terms of peaks, but then you're also going to see some interesting information in terms of some of the, I don't want to call them deficiencies, but some of the lags in each of the respective years. But for this particular area here, you can see that the total dollars peaked in 2020, and that was during the pandemic time, which many of these categories were impacted in 2020. And then you'll see how you can see a decline going through 2024. That peak in 2020, that was a 43% increase over what was deposited, what the trend was in 2019, which is very interesting. And then you can see the slight decline as to where we are right now in 2024, where the dollar trends are at $1.5 billion worth of activity for each of the respective banks for this particular calendar year. The slide here is highlighting the reinvestment trends by activity, specifically these major categories of mortgage lending, small business lending, affordable housing lending, investments in tax credits, and also CRA corporate giving. And so, as you can see by this slide, mortgage lending was pretty high from 2014 through 2021, but then it's taken a dip from 2022 through 2024. And obviously our banking members, once they have the opportunity, can share, what they saw in terms of those trends. But that's a huge thing for us, especially given the conversation that we just had here. And then if you look at the affordable housing lending, you can see how that activity has trended upwards from 2014 to 2020, and then there was a spike in 2023 for some of the activity that took place during that particular time, and then a drop off back here in 2024. This next slide covers some of the highlights of the local deposit trends, again, over the same timeline. This was a little bit more of a slight increase over 2014 through 2019. Then another increase in 2020, again, where you see that spike taking place. But then you see a little bit of a normalization between years 2022 and 2024, where the peak now for 2024 is $76 billion worth of activity for each of our respective banks collectively. But 2020 again marks that high water year where the survey totals began to peak at that particular time, and now they're kind of normalizing again during that time frame. And this is the results specifically for 2024, and you can see the specific banks' activities, where we have J.P. Morgan, who has basically the largest market share based on their activity, and then also they had their deposits were the largest for their particular banking institution as well. This slide here highlights the mortgage trend, which again, interesting and as it relates to the conversation that you all just had about the different activity. As you can see, this one is going backwards, whereas there were certain highlights during 2014 where you had $657 million worth of lending taking place, with that spiking in 2020 at $823 million. But then following 2021, you see a significant dip that has taken place where there's a decrease of about 9% between 2020 and 2021. Then you have a significant dip of about 56% between 2021 and 2022. Then another dip of another 50% in 2023. But on the positive side, you do have more lending activity that has taken place here in 2024 in terms of each of the banks lending activity for the mortgages. And this is specifically for 2024, again, for each of the bank's respective activities. Again, JP Morgan had a pretty significant mortgage lending for their institution, with Bank of America coming kind of in second with their results. But overall, for the collective amount, you have $234 million worth of lending activity that took place this particular year. This slide talks about the small business lending activity. Again, you can see the clear trend lines here where everything is spiking in 2020. That was just a special and a unique year, I believe. But from 2024 to 2020, there's a slight increase overall. You did have a dip between 2020 and 2021, but on the positive side, again, you've had there's been an increase of small business lending activity for each respective year since 2021, where this year there's $497 million worth of activity and lending that's taken place on the small business side. And specifically for 2024, you can see the distribution of activity here, where JP Morgan again is highlighted with $273 million worth of small business loans, but each of the banks respectively having their respective amounts totaling up to $497 for RTF related activity for 2024. And then next here you have affordable housing trends. Again, the same timeline that we've been using. Very low in 2014 were $179 million worth of affordable housing activity that was making some strides and increases through 2021, where oddly enough 2020 was not the spike year or the peak year for affordable housing loans. That began in 2021 with $672 million worth of affordable housing loans taking place. And then we did have a dip of 30% in between 2021 and 2022, and then a significant increase last year with $1.1 billion worth of affordable housing loans taking place amongst all the banks respectively. And then obviously we have a 50% drop between last year and this year for affordable housing loan activity. And this again is respective of each of the banks' activity for this specific year. This slide represents the investments and tax credit trends that were taking place over this course of time, where the peak year this year for this activity was in 2022, where you had $23 million worth of investments in tax credit activity taking place with each respective bank across the board. But then there has been a decline through these last couple of years. So from 2020 to 2021, there was a 21% increase. Then you had a 40% increase from 21 to 22, which is huge. But obviously, there's been a decline these last couple of years, going down from another 36% between 2023, and 2024. And then this is the respective information for each of the banks for this 2024 year. And then this is the CRA giving trend line. As you can see, again, there was a steady climb from 2014 through 2019 with that peak happening in 2020, where you actually had between a 47% increase between 2019 and 2020. Then it was a little bit of a stabilization or decline, between 2020 and 2021 of 30%. And then going on down to 2022, you had another significant increase. But the positive thing is from 2023 and 2024, we've seen positive increases since 2022 in the CRA giving, which is a great thing to be able to see. And then this is the respective trend lines for this year for each respective bank across the board, where U.S. Bank significantly had a significant increase in their giving, their CRA giving for 2024. So the great thing that you see about when you look at these trend lines and you see the activity that was taking place with each of our respective banks is, in my opinion, and doing this kind of for the first time, you see some trends or some niches that each of the banks have respectively in terms of what they've been able to accomplish. But I do think that there is opportunity for the body and the members collectively to really see where these enhancements of these respective activities can impact the RTF as a board, and where we go and the activities that are taking place. But again, I thank everyone for taking the time. I know that there was a lot of information and coordination with all of your respective teams to put together those surveys. I will be asking for them again here pretty soon, the next few months. But nonetheless, thank you again for taking the time to put these together. That concludes my presentation for today, Co-Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'm trying to move on. Anyone have any questions that they really need to ask right now? Okay. All right. Let's move on. We're going to go to Antonio, and you can feel free to present from where you are. If you're more comfortable, you can go to the desk, but. Okay.
Well, thank you, Co-Chair. This one? Okay. Yeah. Oh, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to share an update on our community reinvestment efforts here in San Diego. It's a pleasure to be with fellow financial institutions, nonprofit partners, and our elected leaders as we continue this important conversation about housing affordability, economic opportunity, and inclusive growth across our region. In 2024, our institution demonstrated a strong and ongoing commitment to community reinvestment across both the city and county of San Diego. Our focus was on expanding access to housing, strengthening small business, and advancing financial education, areas that are essential to long-term equitable economic growth. Over the course of the year, we provided $1.7 million in total grants that include grant support for the San Diego Housing Commission's middle market housing program that it was mentioned today. This program doesn't qualify as a CRA investment, but it's important to highlight since the RTF was instrumental in bringing this multi-year investment to our region. This reflects our broader commitment to housing affordability and solutions across the full housing continuum. Of our total $910,000 CRA grants, we supported 25 community programs focused on affordable housing, small business development, and financial education. These efforts were complemented by targeted lending and investment initiatives that expand access to capital, particularly for underserved small businesses, reinforcing our role as a long-term partner in advancing equitable economic opportunity. One of our key accomplishments in 2024 was investing in 9 affordable housing developments, delivering 610 low-income housing units across the region. We partner with mission-driven developers, including Wakeland Housing, Community Housing Works, and National Community Renaissance, to bring these much-needed homes to market. We also continue to support the Lending Circles program with Casa Familiar and MAC, helping individuals and families build and improve credit and strengthen financial stability in underserved communities. Protecting vulnerable populations remain a priority through the San Diego Seniors Community Foundation's Elder Financial Fraud Prevention Program. More than 400 seniors receive education and resources to help protect against financial exploitation. Beyond grants, we provided $24 million in community development loan to 6 organizations, strengthening economic infrastructure and expanding opportunity in underserved neighborhoods across San Diego County. Finally, community feedback has been instrumental in shaping our approach. While partners highlighted, and they're going to do this, highlight its strong impact, they also identify opportunities for deeper engagement in neighborhoods with the greatest need. These insights continue to guide our strategy, and we focus lending in investments where they can make the greatest difference. In closing, we value the partnership with this task force and the collaboration of everyone in the room, and we look forward to continue to work together to advance housing stability and equitable economic growth through the San Diego region. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. 60 seconds. No, I'm just joking. Any questions? Okay. Irene, you are next.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Irene Boyo. I am a Small Business Development Program Manager at IRC SBDC. Today I was asked to just highlight what CRA funding does for the IRC, and I'm just going to focus on that. So CRA funding is a vital resource that supplements our other private and public funding within the organization. In the last year, we got over $230,000 from different banking partners around this table. We're starting with the U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank has supported IRC local economic empowerment through the financial literacy and our annual sponsorship for over 13 years. Just want to say thank you for continued support to the U.S. Bank. Wells Fargo has also been a very consistent supporter of IRC economic empowerment activities that includes financial literacy, small business development, and have been doing this for a number of years. Our greatest partnership happened after COVID-19, when we have Wells Fargo Open for Business. They were able to support a multi-year support our small business and financial capability, and they continue to be valuable partners. Recently, JPMC Bank has been our biggest supporter. They started up supporting our childcare businesses last fiscal year, and this year they even increased the funding to over $150,000, supporting small businesses. And it's been a big help, as most of you know. Our public funding has been really winding down, and CRA funding has been very helpful. To conclude, I just wanted to just give an example of the work the funding from CRA does to an organization as mine, IRC. In January of 20, I'm going to read a success story from one of our small business owners.
I think they're on the next slide, too, if you want to. I think they're on the next slide. Oh, okay. The clicker, I think that.
There we go. Sorry. So this story is about one of our Ukrainian refugee small business owner who came to San Diego in 2023. She came with her husband and two children, set of two twins, two sets of twins. They were all under 5 years old. And when she got here, she couldn't leave the children at home she couldn't get childcare. So she was able to just started making snacks for them using simple ingredients. Through that, she realized that she can share those with a greater community as they were struggling to readjust in a new system, in a new country. So during that time, she started making the fruit ropes from her home, and she started sharing the recipe with her community. And with the interest from the community, she decided that she wanted to make a small business. So like many refugees and immigrants, navigating a new system was very hard for her. And that's when she came to IRC seeking support from our small business development program. When she came to IRC, she met one of our small business advisors who had gone through our financial coaching, which has been long supported through our Wells Fargo partners who support our financial coaching in collaboration with business support. So she was assisted. She was able to get all the permits that was required for her to start a business. Then she joined one of our cohort training called Small Business Women in Action. She finished that cohort and she got a seed funding of only $200, but that was also very important for her startup. She was able to use that for the startup cost. So within 6 months, she acquired the permits. After 6 months of acquiring the permit, she continued to receive technical assistance, and she reported that she was making, by April of last year, she came back and got $20,000 from our CDFI, a micro loan, to purchase equipment so that she's able to increase her production. So by then, she also reported that she was making about $20,000 from her business. By the end of last year, she reported that in last year only she was able to make over $100,000, $60,000 from her small business. So this all came as a result of the support that we get from the CRA funding, from partners like some of you sitting here at the table. That is all from the IRC, so I want to say thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. If there aren't any questions right now, let's go on to Peter.
Well, it's a pleasure to be in front of you today to discuss some of the work that Wakeland has been doing in low and moderate income communities in San Diego. In particular, I'm really proud of the work that Wakeland has been doing in the community of City Heights. Over the last 7 years or so, Wakeland has now completed 5 housing communities, totaling over 400 units in City Heights. And in addition to low and moderate income housing for people who are unhoused, families, low income individuals, we've also had the great opportunity to partner with a lot of great City Heights organizations. We're working with Outreach to do public murals on our projects. We're providing office space for City Heights CDC, also office and services space for the United Women of East Africa. And we're really expanding our partnership with Price Philanthropies. So in the last year, we've essentially completed 3 projects. The first I'm going to talk about is Quattro at City Heights. These are all on sites that were surplus land from when the state of California put the Interstate 15 through City Heights, really kind of pulled the community apart. And it took quite a while to assemble the funding for these 4 projects on 4 separate sites, but maybe 5 years, 7 years to pull together the funding. But those sites have been sitting vacant for 30 years. And so now we will have productive uses, housing, office space for low-income nonprofit partners on all of these 4 sites in City Heights that are adjacent to the 15 freeway. Here's an example of one site now that's built and now being leased up at El Cajon and Interstate 15. Here's a second site at University and Interstate 15. That's the second one at University and 15 also, the courtyard there. Another project I want to highlight is Serenade on 43rd, which is a project that has 65 homes, 32 for formerly unhoused residents. It's actually a combination of new construction and rehab. It was, what Steve would define as a Huffman six-pack. There are a couple of those sitting, and we rehabbed those units and then built new units next door. And so in addition to producing wonderful affordable housing, we also have, I think it's a really attractive solution to, kind of the density that was dropped on City Heights in the 70s and 80s. So this is an example of the before photo with a beautiful parking right in the front of the units, and then that commercial building to the south. And there's an example of the finished project. Very attractive, well-designed, really going to serve the residents well. And you can see now we have public art murals on the buildings as well. Like I said, we're partnering with Art Reach and local artists to kind of enhance the building. And there's an interior shot of Serenade. And then finally, I want to highlight the Peralta, which is at the intersection of El Cajon Boulevard and Fairmont Avenue. 73 new homes. Really remarkable that we have 23 bedroom units and 25 4-bedroom units. And this was a very interesting project. It's a partnership with Price Philanthropies. They're the kind of the moving factor behind the project. In addition to the housing, we have 8,000 square feet of commercial space for community partners. So we're going to have a small business cafe operator who's going to expand and have a new location for their caffeine, or it's a cafe called Cafeina. It's been very successful in City Heights, and we're going to have Andrew's going to have a second location here. And then we have 7,000 square feet where we're looking for a nonprofit community partner as well. And so this is actually a historic, we saved a portion of the historic building there at El Cajon in Fairmont. And, if you haven't driven by lately, it's an amazingly attractive building that really fits well into the community. It's, very well designed, and looking forward, we just got TCO, temporary certificate of occupancy, yesterday. And so we'll be leasing up that project over the next 2 to 3 months. So thank you. That's my presentation.
Thank you so much. Vanessa, you are up next.
Good morning. My name is Vanessa, and I'm a program manager at CSA San Diego County. I will be sharing today about CSA services and a little bit about fair housing. So this is CSA's mission, which is to promote social justice and public welfare through programs, services, and advocacy against all forms of discrimination, because we want to assure equal housing opportunities for everyone. And so the Fair Housing Act represents a pivotal moment in civil rights movement. Dr. King, along with other advocates, emphasized that discriminatory housing practices were not isolated incidents of personal bias. The Federal Fair Housing Act was enacted in 1968 and amended in 1988 to provide more protections against housing discrimination. Before this legislation, property owners, lenders, and government agencies would openly discriminate against people that belong to certain protected classes. And our federally protected classes: race, sex, color, religion, disability, familial status, and national origin. And we also have our additional protected classes in California. These are only some of them, since there is more of them. Housing discrimination, what is it? Housing discrimination is unlawfully interfering with an individual's right to obtain housing. Discriminatory practices are prohibited both under federal and state laws, providing broad protections to ensure equal access to housing for all individuals. Fair housing law makes it illegal to discriminate in the sale or rental of housing based on the protected characteristics we reviewed. Additionally, discrimination is prohibited in related activities, including mortgage lending, appraisals, housing assistance, real estate services. These are some of the prohibited conducts in rental housing, like refusal to rent or sell housing, refusal to negotiate for housing, steering, and all these other ones. Okay, so the following are CSA services. We can help both tenants and landlords with counseling services. This can look like mediating a situation with the tenant or teaching either landlords or tenants what their rights and responsibilities are when they are unsure. We also assist in situations where tenants may receive notices to vacate or unlawful evictions. So CSA can generally help tenants navigate the next steps in these situations where they don't know what their rights are. And with landlords, we also assist them if they don't know what type of notice to serve tenants, whether it's a 3-day, 60-day, 90-day notice. And we also assist with illegal rent increases. So we calculate the permissible rent increase and assist the tenant with determining whether it is legal or not. If it is not permissible, we will assist the tenant with the next steps that they can take to resolve the issue. In the case of a landlord, we can assist them by calculating the permissible rent increase so that they are not erroneously providing an illegal rent increase. We also assist with reasonable accommodations and modifications. This service is particularly helpful for tenants who have disabilities. CSA can assist them with requesting a reasonable accommodation or modification that will help them enjoy their dwelling. We can do this by having the tenant take a verification of disability to their doctor, and then the doctor fills it out, stating that the tenant needs this reasonable accommodation due to their disability. And it's important to note that the doctor does not have to disclose the disability, just that the tenant needs that reasonable accommodation. Then CSA will write a letter to the landlord making the request on behalf of the tenant to streamline the process for the tenant. For example, in the past, I have helped tenants who needed an emotional support animal, or tenants with a service animal, tenants who were receiving rent subsidies and needed a change in their rent due date. So this would be a reasonable accommodation for them since their funds were not dispersed until like the third of the month. Another service is fair housing and landlord-tenant rights workshops. We do 30 minutes or more, depending on what the organization's request. These are like on specific topics like evictions, rent increases, familial status rights, disability rights in housing. When there is a non-discrimination tenant-landlord issue, we can generally assist as long as the tenants live within the cities we are contracted with. We cover a large number of the cities in San Diego County. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but my advice is to have tenants call us if they're unsure, if they're experiencing discriminatory housing practices, or if it's a landlord-tenant issue. Generally, if we aren't able to assist, we will provide our clients with information that will assist them. Another way CSA helps is when tenants are experiencing any instances of discrimination in housing on any of the protected classes. And this specific service does encompass all of San Diego County, so it doesn't matter what city or if it's not in one of the contracted cities that we have. As long as this tenant is experiencing discrimination in housing, we are there to assist. And so this is why I recommend people to give us a call as well, because sometimes people don't recognize what housing discrimination may look like. And lastly, I just do want to mention that our services are free of cost, and people don't have to meet specific income limits in order to receive assistance. Oh, and we do have some upcoming workshops. So I do some outreach in all of our cities. That'll be all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vanessa. Okay, Gordon, you are up.
Thank you. I am Gordon Borner. I have the honor and privilege of being the board chair for Accessity. As many of you know, we are San Diego Promise Zone headquartered 501c3 nonprofit CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution. We make small business loans for $300 up, technical assistance, including one-on-one, free educational services, and bilingual business startup academy. Let's move through this rapidly. Let's talk about San Diego specifically. For 2025 CRA activities, we did 114 loans, $3.7 million, so average ticket size $32,000. Created 426 jobs were created and or maintained on those loans in San Diego County. We did our Ava Longoria Foundation Bilingual Startup Academy, had 49 graduates that were put out into the city, either to maintain their business or to start a brand new business. We launched a full platform with 40 educational video platform as a request from some of our business folks who didn't have the time, who wanted the value of the Ava Longoria component, but didn't have the time to make it in to the office. So we had 220 users actually that went through the whole click through the whole 40 educational video platform. And as we'll talk about later, we're going to go further with that. We had 4 events in town that had 418 business owners that attended them. Moving on to the next chart, as you can see, the businesses that we're supporting are the ones on this pie chart, talking about nail salons, cosmetology, janitorial, auto repair, auto body, restaurants, breweries, food trucks. As you know, we financed the first 3 in the history of San Diego. Professional on the bookkeeping, psychology, site counselors, environmental engineers, and then retail shops all over town, as well as contractors and some trucking industry and stuff like that as well. So let's take a look at where we are and how we fit into the footprint. As you can see, if you take a look at this map, it's hard to fit the whole county, as you all know, on a map, but take your I-8 line and draw it just artificially there, and you'll kind of see what's going on there. Much heavier concentration, obviously, south of the 8 and all the way down to the international border there. And probably to put that into more easily to read on one single slide page, this really tells more of it. You're zooming in on the top 20 zip codes of highest impact where we lend. And as you can see there, 14 of the 15 highest zip codes are all south of Interstate 8, and 16 out of the 20 that are listed here, again, all south of Interstate 8. So again, looking back to the previous graph, there's a little bit of touch all over the county, all the way to the unincorporated areas, but the heavy concentration of it all occurs south of 8 to the international border. Moving to the next slide, looking forward to 2026, we're increasing our maximum loan size to $250,000. We've had a number of businesses who we have now made our second, third, and fourth loans. They're ready for their fifth loan, and they're not bankable yet. And sometimes that's because they have specific issues with the business. Sometimes it's because they're doing well, but they haven't kept the kind of records that they know they should have, and they come back, apologize to us. So we're now going to be able to make those loans up to 250 and make it much easier for our banking partners to be able to take them back at that juncture. The other thing that we did is, as you all know, the JCNI building in the Promise Zone turned over to San Ysidro Health. San Ysidro Health needed more space. We worked very closely with them, and we agreed to take a downsizing of about 45% of our space in order to stay in the building and stay committed to the Promise Zone in District 4. And we've successfully negotiated that lease just here in the last couple of weeks. So we'll be staying inside the building, changing floors in the building, but we'll stay with our headquarters presence inside the Promise Zone. And then last but not least, in 2026, we're going to deliver our targeted Ava Longoria Foundation components. We'll do the Brewing the American Dream with Boston Brewing again. It's now been renamed nationally to Crafted for Success that we'll hold again. We're going to do the Bilingual Academy training again, and we're going to take that platform of the 40 videos, and we're going to create 40 videos in Spanish translation because we have heavy demand for that as well. And then just taking a quick look at the next slide, the Academy. As you can see, next week we actually have the 2026 Spanish one starting on March 3rd, and then we've got the one going in English that will come in August. And that's it for Accessity. But other than the biggest thing that happened this year, and that was the conclusion of the incredible program that the County of San Diego introduced in March of 2020 during the COVID process. So as many of you know, and we've talked about at least once before at this Reinvestment Task Force, the county stepped forward with COVID funds. We created a five-pronged collaborative effort of these five organizations on the slide. Basically, the County of San Diego put $5 million up. Cal Southern basically took its, along with the state, took its iBank guarantee to 95%. We contracted with the San Diego Foundation in a trilateral agreement to cover another 5% from a credit enhancement guarantee. And for doing that and taking that loss risk out, Accessity then agreed to take on the origination and the servicing at 1% fixed rate loans, 5-year term loans, frosting on the cake being no fees whatsoever for origination or for servicing. And again, we've reported on that once before, but here to happily tell you as we move to the next slide, we're done. We started, and I will comment, you'll recall that the county originally wanted to touch, two of the supervisors in specific wanted to touch the unincorporated area. So we gave it a 120-day runway specifically and solely to the unincorporated areas just to see what it would do. Got them satisfied that the demand had been met, which was lean, as you could tell, and then unleashed it immediately. And as you can see from the next chart here, the minute it got unleashed there in that second graph, boom, we deployed $5 million basically in 150 days inside the city, not just the city of San Diego, but not beyond just the outlying areas. And a lot of this goes south of Interstate 8, as you saw in the previous concentration. 66% of those $5 million in loans were BIPOC or women-owned. 56% of them were low to moderate income loan, as you can see. And as you can see, the money got used up very, very rapidly. So what happened with the money? Did it work? Is the program a success? Take a look at the next slides coming up here. We've got a veteran-owned business, Chad Bell, saved his first business that was sitting on Cortez Hill. He needed $50,000 to keep the lights on there. He's now thriving. The loan's paid off. He's got 5 locations and 42 employees for a veteran-owned business. Next one, Pamela Covarrubias. She was a business coach. She needed $5,000 just to keep the lights on in her office business in her house. She's now paid that loan off, and she now is part of our Ava Longoria as a teacher, business coach in the class. Next slide up. Out in East County, we've got the Couganer family, El Cajon Bakery candy maker. They needed $50,000 in order to fulfill for a new product line they had just started when COVID hit. They've now paid that loan off, and they're donating back through the Autism Tree Project 3% of all their profits to that foundation. Going to the next and final slide here, Elisa Marie Ostrom needed $3,250 just to keep the lights on and not file for bankruptcy. She subsequently kept the lights on. She subsequently paid her loan off and she now came back, went through the Ava Longoria Academy, and has graduated from the academy. So that's a screaming success overall. How did the portfolio perform, though? Because that was one of the big questions of the day that none of us knew the answer to when we sat in March of 2020, right? 97% repayment rate, even better than our standard accessity historical rate over the last 30 years, 97%. Only one loan's remaining right now for $295. We've had to extend it a couple of times, but it looks like the final payment's set now for next month. And so we agreed to go ahead and pay back the county in full. And we delivered that check to the county on December 15th to basically conclude this program and basically call it a screaming success of 5 organizations collaborating in an absolute maelstrom on the outside. We stabilized businesses, grew them, got a 97% survival rate. And final comment, frosting on the cake, 12 of those 157 borrowers that took advantage of this program not only now have stabilized and grown, but they've come back to Accessity for an additional loan, regular loan at regular pricing and regular fees as their businesses continue to grow. Not sure how else you can define success beyond that. So huge thanks and kudos to the county, to the San Diego Foundation for enabling Accessity to do the 1% loans, and what I think was one of the prime examples of a tremendous 5-tier collaboration across the county. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you. We'll save the questions. We have 2 more presentations. We're gonna try to get through. It's 3:47. Okay. Yep. Stephen, he's ahead of me, so he's headed to the table now. All right, Stephen Russell.
And I am joined here with Claudia Ochoa, who is our Education and Workforce Development Manager. And so I'll do a brief introduction, let her talk about our programs, and then we'll close. First of all, San Diego Housing Federation, and fundamentally we're here to facilitate the creation of housing for low and moderate income families. So all of our activities essentially perform the function that CRA is intended to support. Our vision is that San Diego is a thriving, sustainable region where all of us have access to a safe and stable place we can afford to call home. Next, please. And then we do this by bringing people together through advocacy, through networking, and through education. Peer-to-peer education is really the core of what we do. Next, please. So we seek to expand the capacity of the sector and the individuals within it through a variety of different educational programs and forums so that we are to stay in constant touch with the activities, the needs of our sector. We are supported in this work by the banks who are here today. I want to call out especially U.S. Bank, who is one of our largest donors, and Bank of America. So Wells and Chase are also there, and Bank of America, who last year awarded us the $100,000 Neighborhood Builders Award. So it's $100,000 each over 2 years, which has allowed us to make expansive plans for how we can be sustainable in the years ahead. Next, please. We've also been working more closely with different partners. You probably all recognize faces from this scene where we're advocating for attention to all of the basic needs that folks have: healthcare, housing, food security, homelessness services, and childcare, that all of these things pulled together, and all of them brought a great deal of attention to the needs of these sectors here. We also have been organizing our Homeless Experienced Advocacy and Leadership Program, bringing voices of folks with lived experience of homelessness into public discourse. And all of this is really it feeds together to help us to educate our sector. And one of the key, a number of you attended this, was our Fundamentals of Affordable Housing Finance, which will be an alternating year program. This year we're going to be focusing on not finance, but on design, development, and construction. So there'll be a series of trainings around that. Again, these are intended to increase the capacity of our sector to provide housing for low and moderate income families. And I'll leave it to Ms. Claudia to tell you about her programs.
Hi everyone, I'm Claudia. I'm the Education and Workforce Development Manager at SDHF. I want to talk about 2 programs which are part of our School of Affordable Housing. They live in that umbrella. One is our Supportive Housing and Resident Services Academy. where this is our continuing education program. We bring people who know the direct needs of the community. We bring people together to talk about what are the educational needs, how can we train professionals who are in constant contact with the community or resident services. We have a beautiful committee. I know we have 2 people from Wakeland who are very committed. Irene, maybe I get someone from IRC in the future to join the committee. So they all let us know what are the main needs. We support them in preparing workshops and collaborating together. We recently had one about healthcare and basic needs, which was very successful. We had a couple of attendees. This happened in early February. And of course, our big event as part of this ShareSA Academy is our ShareSA Institute, where we bring professionals from the industry together in one same place to network, collaborate, learn, discuss different topics. It's an all-day training event. We're talking about bringing back a certificate so they get this benefit too. And the previous one in 2025 had 87 attendees from all different organizations. We held our last one in January, and now we had 110 attendees. So it just seems that the program is growing. We're getting a lot of people interested, and at the end of the day, serving the community, which is our main goal. The other program that I'm very passionate about is the Affordable Housing Management Academy. This is our workforce initiative from SEHF. I'll move to the next slide. Oh, there's a picture of Steve. But we have basically an overview of the program. We do a 16-week free college-level training. It's a certification program in partnership with Miracosta College. This is a great partnership because for the students are trying to get jobs, having a certificate from a recognized college can be very valuable. And of course, our goal is to help individuals who come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, individuals of color, and those who might have grown up within affordable housing communities, so they have a shared lived experience with the people they are serving, and eventually get employment and are self-sustainable. One of the main things about the program is the mentorship. We have grown our mentor list from 23 to 55 mentors last year. They also come from a lot of different organizations, and that support means the world to us students because it's their first step into the networking and into getting guidance from people who have experience in the industry. Of course, the other support is career development, both from Miracosta services, from Miracosta staff, and from SEHF. We support the students, we give them a free membership to the Federation, and create different alumni networking opportunities, and more importantly, a job fair, which we do every semester. I'll skip to that. For example, in past job fairs, we have had companies like CONAM, Community Housing Works, Interfaith, USA Properties, all meeting our students, and we have had students being hired on that spot at the job fair. Last October, we had 3 students who were hired at the job fair, and overall, we have had 14, potentially 16 students, we are confirming that have get jobs after the program. So we are very proud of that. And are working actually now with San Diego Continuing Education to bring the program closer, because right now, well, it's in Oceanside, so we are looking into maybe seeing if we can do another cohort there, and creating an apprenticeship, so people can also get that on-the-job training very soon. That would be with Miracosta, but these are 2 things that we are very excited about. Lastly, graduates have commented how the mentorship has been crucial to where they are in their career, and the support of the Federation as well. So we are very proud about those successes, and I'll let Steve bring us home.
Yeah, first I'll say thank you to Supervisor Montgomery Stepp for your support of expanding the program to south of the 8. We're actively doing the planning right now and engaging with the Community College District. And what I want to say is that when we, next one, is that we take all these strands of education, the different folks who are there, and everyone is invited. We invite folks who are our HEAL members, our RUN members, our property managers, our developers, our project managers, managers, we bring them together at our conference every year. Many of you have attended that. And this is a chance, it's the culmination of these educational efforts and an opportunity to really build community around the idea of affordable housing. Last year we called it the Power of Us, I think aptly named, because it was really representative of the entire section. And the number of attendees was an all-time record. Next slide, please. 518 attendees, 66 speakers, 49 sponsors, and we think a very successful day overall. So as we closed our 35th year, we want to thank all of our members, partners, residents, funders, educators, and staff for embodying the idea of the power of us. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much. There's a lot packed in there. Thank you for all that you do. Kwafi Reed. Okay, we're at 3:56. I'm sure we can all go over a couple minutes to allow Kwafi to present on what he's worked so hard on.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. And I'm going to try to keep this brief because I want to respect everybody's time. There's a bunch of background information in here about my organization and what we do. Most folks know that we're a developer of affordable homeownership housing, and we work with partners, volunteers, and corporate sponsors to help make that happen. I'm not going to go through our mission. Not only is the background info in there, but the limits of my technical skills are also on display, because you can see some of the notes between me and my development director talking about a previous version of this presentation. So eat it up if you want to. Just a couple things to note. We are an independent affiliate. People hear about Habitat for Humanity International. They are headquartered out of Atlanta. We are our own 501c3. Our service area is San Diego County. This slide here is just to give you a sense of kind of our rough scale, excluding our real estate activities. We're about a $5 or $6 million organization, depending on what's going on. And and this is really who our donors are. And I want to draw your attention over to the 50% that is corporate, because it is a huge and increasing part of who is supporting much of our work. This breakdown here is a list of all of the financial institutions who support us. Every single member of this RTF has been one of our supporters, and they, especially over the last couple of years, have really been stepping up. We also, of course, work with home builders and other corporate partners here in the county who both donate their time and their money, but also in-kind donations. So you'll see Home Depot, Lowe's, Cali Bamboo. These are all suppliers and builders in a Habitat home. Much of what's there, not just the labor, but also the materials, are frequently donated. As you're thinking about what it is that these financial institutions in particular and the CRA members are helping us pay for, one of the things I want folks to know is we originate and service the mortgages for the homes that we build. So the 200 loans or so that we have in our portfolio are folks with whom we keep a very close relationship with. And those financial partners not only give us the capital for those loans initially, but they also purchase the loans on the back end through CRA monetization. So when we actually make that into cash, we have to monetize those mortgages that we originate. So these partners don't just give us the money up front, but they're also supporting us on the back end. All right, just to give folks a rough picture of how our capital stack comes together, the blue is the homeowner mortgage. We don't give our homes away. We originate a mortgage, as I mentioned. About 30% of it comes in the forms of donations and philanthropy, and 25% of it roughly comes from the public sector. That's why I was asking about Cal Home. It's really important. This is an example of the kind of development that we've been doing. I listed these three projects just because I wanted to sort of give folks a picture of our current activity. We are not building detached single-family homes, ranch-style homes anymore. We are doing almost exclusively either multifamily townhomes or duplexes. And so this is an example of what we do. Most of our homes are in the 3 to 4 bedroom range, and we serve families exclusively at 80% of AMI or below. That is our box. We have a number of other programs in addition to building homes. We also do home repair, most of it focusing on home preservation for vulnerable communities. So we're talking about seniors and veterans very frequently. And that's the idea that keeping a home affordable, in good shape, is cheaper than building a new home. This is an example of some of the work that we did in Logan Heights, just very quickly. We also are rolling out what we're calling a built home strategy, which is where we're working with developers who are trying to take advantage of density bonus laws, connecting them with our 15,000 person interest list. The comment I frequently make is we sold 10 homes about a year ago, and I didn't have a home for the 11th buyer, and I had 15,000 families express interest, 3,000 families attend our orientation, and 300 families provide full applications, and I had 10 homes. So this is a way for us to connect it with builders who have density bonus and inclusionary zoning, permanently affordable homes, and so we can then connect them with our home buyers. These are a couple of examples. Oceanside's been a really great partner for us, and so just to give folks kind of a picture of the kinds of homes that we're selling through our density bonus built home strategy program. The last thing I want to say, and this is sort of the secret sauce of what makes Habitat work, I mentioned that our loan, that we service all of the loans that are in our portfolio. Our mortgage portfolio performance rate is 99.5%. Our home buyers do not miss payments. But the reason they don't miss payments is because of not this team. This is a family who this team is helping. But all 200 of the folks who have loans with us, we know them, we talk to them, we have an ongoing relationship with them. If they're having a change of life situation, they're not dealing with, a Countrywide mortgage or somebody else. They're dealing with us. So we can say whether or not there's going to be a deferral. We can say whether or not there needs to be some kind of accommodation. It's us. So just very quickly, we have a 3-part standard process. People always ask, how do you pick who gets a house? It's a demonstrated need, a willingness to partner. That means, will you do the sweat equity? And then the ability to pay the mortgage. And I won't take you through our process here. Just to give you a quick note, we had about 11,000 hours of volunteer service. We had about 1,400 volunteers, about 2,500 shifts, and this is a sense of what we've accomplished over the last few years. Got about 219 homes in our portfolio, 250 homes that have been repaired. So that's it. How'd I do? All right.
And that is a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you. I really do appreciate everyone I know you work a lot on these presentations. Thank you for getting through them. It is 4:02, which is amazing. I would like to just, if everyone is okay, give up to 10 more minutes just for any questions that anyone has for another fellow task force member or anything. If not, Steve.
To Mr. Reed, is this model that you're pursuing here locally, is this something that is generally done across the state, or are you pioneering it?
So I'd love to take credit for it, but I can't. It's really become a much more common approach. You're talking about working on the density bonus and inclusionary zoning. In our high-cost coastal markets, what we're really trying to do is to leverage what's already ongoing. Those affordable units are going to be built, and we have an interest list of buyers who, their credit scores and savings are through the roof. I don't have a home for that 11th family, and so this is something that's going on in the Bay Area, Los Angeles, and all up and down the coast. So it's really about us kind of leveraging what we're doing to kind of help out.
Any more questions, comments? That was a lot of information, but it was really good information. So thank you, everyone, for the work you put in the presentations, and that reflects the work that you do year-round. Okay, with that, we are good. We're going to adjourn this meeting at 4:04 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your week and weekend.